Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over my Katsu game that I played on stream against Cody Williams on Bravo. This was round 6 of the Calling Dallas, and this was on day 1. Was feeling really good. I know a couple of you have wanted me to do kind of a recap of this crazy match that we had and kind of talk about maybe some plays that could have been better, some things and just key decision points I made that helped, me eventually be able to take the matchup and just hopefully help you as you play against Bravo in your future games. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below, and we'll get right into it. So I'm going to go through this the best I can. Play to play, there was a lot of nuanced stuff and a lot of risk-taking with this match. So typically, Bravo is favored in Katsu. Most people would agree with that. And Cody's list specifically, which I didn't know at the time until halfway through the game, is a very tanky list. It's not yes, it has the tempo attacks like Spinal and Crippling and Starstruck, but it also has a lot of fence reactions. He's running Titan's Fist with Buckler, and he's really, trying to outvalue you and just slowly, hammer you down until he hits you with a big tempo turn. So this matchup is not typically good for Katsu, and Katsu's probably, I'd say, like a 40-60 into this matchup, maybe a 45-55 if you really draw well. But even when you draw well, you have to get a little lucky, which in this matchup we honestly did get a little lucky. So gonna go through it the best I can and kind of talk through things. I'll even talk about the things that I know I messed up. The first thing in this matchup that I didn't notice, so being on stream, there's a lot more things you have to think about. You have to use the correct dice that they want you to use, which is totally fine. You have to be able to represent your damage totals as you attack with, which we didn't always do. You have to make sure that you not only write down your life pad, like what your life is, but also update the life pad for the stream, because the players are doing that, not the casters or, Ethan or Mansant behind the scenes. So because of that, there's just a lot more things to think about, on top of the fact that you're in the middle of the room and everybody's looking at you, which I wasn't nervous at all. It's just more things to think about. So because of that, in turn 1, what I should have noticed from Cody's list, and I believe Cody is on Team Runaways, fantastic player, really, really good, is Cody is running Titan's Fist and Buckler. If I would have known this turn 1, when you see this from a Bravo, you immediately know that the Bravo is likely going to be a more tanky list with a lot of defense reactions, a lot of ways to slow you down, and they're really going to play a value game over time, right? If they're running a Nothos, then they're probably just trying to swing at you, but I didn't notice this for some weird reason at the start of the game when I should have, because I'm so used to a Nothos. And I didn't notice it until you get to it. We'll see a Terra Sunder play for 5, and that's when I noticed it. And I was like, wait, this is normally for 7. And it really threw me off. So we'll kind of talk about that. So pay attention to your Bravo's equipment when you play against them. If you see a Titan's Fist and Buckler, just know that you're going to have to play a little more calculated. They're probably going to be a little bit tankier. When it comes to the list itself, I basically put in my 2 reinforced lines, my sync blows, my flick flacks. You have to be a little bit defensive against Bravo. Try to park your good D-reacts in Arsenal and your reinforced lines in Arsenal, and really try to avoid those crush effects. For turn 1, I had a Whelming Gust Wave, a Soul Bead Strike, a Be Like Water, and an Ancestral. So 4 reds. So right here, I'm just trying to filter. I ended up making a small minor error here, honestly. Knowing that this is a Fatigue Bravo, throwing the Soul Bead Strike out doesn't really do anything. It honestly lets them filter their hand, which we don't want Bravo to do, right? Bravo may have 4 blues and not have a good tempo turn, and honestly, as you can see, in Cody's hand, I believe, he doesn't have the Spinal in hand, I think, if we can watch him filter through his cards. So he Spinals me. He dominates Spinals me next turn. And if we look through Cody's hand, I don't believe... Oh, he does have the Spinal Crush. So he had it regardless. But in this situation, even if I had 4 reds, I should have pitched the Whelming Gust Wave first and Kadachi'd, then pitch the Soul Bead Strike, Kadachi'd again, and then Arsenal passed, and then draw up 2 cards, and just filter my hand with hopefully not letting him filter too much. Maybe he blocks with 1 card on the Kadachi, but that's about it, right? Don't give them the opportunity to filter and potentially draw into a really good attack. I don't think it really made a difference, because I think he had 3 blues and a Spinal regardless. However, Cody's turn 1, he ends up dominating Spinal crushing me, which is really bad for me. So I don't have a D-react. I don't have any way of preventing the crush effect here. So this turn, I really just have to take it on the face, right? I have a Warmonger's Diplomacy in my hand. I have Be Like Water, I believe. I have an Ancestral and Arsenal, and then I have a Whelming and a Fluster. So my goal, I have two options here. I either can block, I want to block as much as possible since I'm already going to be taking the crush effect no matter what. So I either can block with Warmonger's Diplomacy and throw Fluster Fist for 4 and at least present 4 damage, which, isn't too bad. Or I block with Fluster Fist, my other 3 block, and I play Warmonger's Diplomacy and prevent him from activating Bravo next turn. I didn't think that preventing him from activating Bravo next turn was really that worth it. It doesn't do anything to progress my game plan, and throwing the Fluster out on my next turn will do one of 3 things, honestly. One, they have a really good hand, and you deal 4 damage, and they crush you again, which at that point is what it is. The second thing it might do is some Bravos not as disciplined as Cody is. Cody's extremely disciplined player here. You'll see it. Will say, I'm going to keep my whole hand. I'm just going to block with a little bit of equipment, right? They might throw a Crater Fist in front of it or a Tectonic Plate in front of it, or they might throw their crown out early and try to filter because they don't have a good hand, whatever it is. That's not the correct play, but some Bravos will do that because some Bravos get a little bit greedy when they see a lot of stuff. But here, Cody has, I believe, a Fate Foreseen in hand, and then he has 2 blues or something like that. So when I throw the Fluster Fist out here, Cody does the correct thing. He blocks with the card that he doesn't need in his next hand. He's just going to, since he has a Seismic Surge, he's just going to throw a Debilitate at me. He's not going to need the Choke Slam. So he's going to Arsenal his Fate Foreseen and throw a good attack at me, and I only deal 1 damage. So we're already down 4 damage. It's not that bad. Normally in the Bravo matchup, you're going to have to take a little bit of damage early, sometimes to set up your 5-card hands. So, no harm, no foul there. With the Seismic Surge and a blue, he ends up throwing Debilitate at me. So Debilitate's coming in for 6. This doesn't feel too good, but right now I have a blue Whelming in hand, a blue Warmonger's Diplomacy, a red Surging Strike, and an Ancestral in my arsenal. So my thought process is that I normally wouldn't want to use one of these equipments for a blue Debilitate. However, he already dominated Spinal me, and then if he turns off my ability to give my first attack, so what Debilitate does if it crushes you is your first attack is -2. So my Kodachi would not hit. And for me, I want my Kodachis to hit because I'm running Mask Momentum in every single matchup, and the way you keep tempo, hopefully with Bravo early, is force him to block your mass trigger. So if I throw a Kodachi for nothing and then throw my Surging Strike for 5, yes, the Surging Strike on hit matters, but I'm not threatening Mask on that third attack. And because of that, I felt like it was worth it to block with 1 card. And since I already have the Be Like War is not going to do a whole lot. I personally don't expect to hit a whole lot early game until we get rid of his equipment. So I was like, you know what? I'll block with the Be Like Water and breaking skills and prevent my Kodachi from not hitting. Honestly, for value's sake, maybe I shouldn't have blocked with this, but I also was thinking like taking 6 here kind of sucks because we're already down 28-38. So I'm going to try to value block a little bit, prevent the crush effect, and save 3 life, right? So now it's 31-38. My Kodachi is actually going to hit, and I'm not down 10 life already, right? So that was my initial thought. Right or wrong play, I think there's good and bads to both of it, but considering I still have half of the surging line here, I'm okay with it. So on this turn, I'm going to Kodachi and then surging and then potentially go into whelming and, ancestral and stuff like that. My goal with this turn and my hopefulness, which Cody ends up doing, which helps me out, is Cody, when I see this equipment set, in my opinion, any Bravos out there, tell me if I'm wrong, they want to block with this equipment first, and I figure that with Cody. So my thought is when I present surging here, Cody is either going to block with 2 cards for 6, or he's going to block with 1 card and Buckler and make me have Ancestral. And Cody even says in stream, he's like, it's too early for Ancestral. I didn't think you'd have it already. I'm not going to lie. So when I throw this for 5, my hope is that Cody blocks with a piece of equipment or a Buckler and a card, which he ends up doing, and I'm able to Ancestral it. Now, I'm pretty sure he D-reacts after I do this. So he ends up thinking about it. He blocks with 1 card and Buckler. I Ancestral, drawing a card. I end up drawing into a Fluster Fist, I believe. Yeah, Fluster Fist. He ends up having the D-react. So I thought he was going to take it, so I ended up almost going for my next attack, but he says, hold on a second. He has a Sink in hand and a Fate in arsenal, right? So really good defensive hand for Cody. Prevents the on-hit trigger. So here I thought I was going to get the on-hit trigger once I Ancestraled because of how he blocked. But what I was going to do is discard the blue whelming for a red whelming and present a little bit better on hits. Yes, he has a lot of equipment up, but again, I'm trying to throw as good value attacks as I can early in order to get that equipment out of the way, right? So it feels bad that he fate for seeing this, but in all honesty, and you'll see this a couple times in the game, I do like +1 attack reactions, and he ends up defense reacting them. And when it comes to that, like if a Bravo is using their 0 for 4 defense reaction to help block out a +1 ability, that's good value for you, right? Honestly, what would feel better for him is like blocking with, Crater Fist and or just Crater Fist and then defense reacting or something like that, preventing Ancestral, which honestly might have been the play he should have done, just from my opinion as a Katsu. But regardless, we're able to kind of punish him a little bit for blocking this way and force out a bad value D react, which, again, the name of the game with Bravo early, in my opinion, there's a whole lot of nuances to it, is you want to present damage early and often to try to get their equipment out. Because if you think about it, Bravo is at 40 life. They have 11 block on their equipment. That means they're at 51 life. And then if they're running sigils, that means they're at 60 life. So you got to outdo a Bravo by basically 20 life here. So I have a choice here. I can either throw the Fluster Fist out or the Whelming. The Whelming's not very good here, but it's only coming in for 2, and it's a blue Whelming, right? And that means I can use it as a bonds target later on if I do a bonds loop. And he doesn't want to block a 3-block with this, ideally, right? What he wants to do, so what I was trying to do here is force out this. I was trying to force him to give me a piece of equipment instead of maybe blocking with a hand from hand, but he was very disciplined, and he blocked with a sync, which, again, if I'm making him use a sync for a 2-power Whelming Gust Wave, I feel pretty good about it. So that turn, I was able to get him to use 2 out of 6 of his 0 for 4 defense reactions on 2 plays that were for +1 and +2 respectively, right? So the value is there. So he ends up pitching a movable. I do notice this, and I'm like, okay, late game he's going to have a movables coming back up in his deck, which honestly is going to help me if I get in a long string of attacks, because a movable is very inefficient to play against Katsu, in my opinion, because it just is. If you don't get this in Arsenal, you have to use 2 cards to block 1 attack against a Katsu who's probably coming at you with 4 or 5 attacks. It's really good for me. So right here, I'm down 31 to 37. If I take the 4 here, then I'm down 10 damage, which is a lot against a Bravo, right? Going down 10 kind of sucks, but I felt like I had to do it to push a little bit of damage. I still don't have an amazing turn here, but I know I have enough to at least force 2 cards and a piece of equipment, in my opinion. I'm going to present the Surging line again and hopefully be able, again, I'm trying to get out his equipment, but Cody was very disciplined in this game. He did not give me equipment early. So I have a yellow Surging. I have a Whelming Gust Wave, I believe, here, and I end up throwing up the yellow Surging here. It's for 4. So again, Cody just saw me use an Ancestral. What Cody does here is, I think, take the calculated risk of blocking with Buckler again and a card from hand. I don't exactly remember here. Let's see. Some of the key moments in this game really come at the end, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, for him to have a Spinal and to debilitate early, I need to start pushing damage here a little bit. Even if it's just chipping, even if it's getting him down, like making him block with 2 cards while dealing 3 to 4 damage, whatever I can do to get the life total as close to even as I can, I'm going to do. So he ends up right here playing a 3-block and a Buckler, basically telling me, like, I need you to have another Ancestral, even though you just used one. I don't have it, so I end up doing 100 wins for 3. This is a pretty easy block for Cody, nothing too crazy. And then Fluster Fist for 4. So again, right here, I figured he was going to block this Surging, but right here I'm presenting 12 damage. And like I told you in my other video, when it comes to Bravo, what I'm trying to do is present like a good amount of damage late in the chain. Now, he's able to cover this up with the D-React, I believe. Or no, he doesn't. He just blocks it for 3. I want to present damage late in the chain because that's how you chip away at Bravo, right? You present decent on hits like early to mid in the chain to force his cards out a little bit, and then you punish him late with some late damage. Like way back when, I used to try to, put a blackout kick or put, some type of like high, maybe an E strike for 7 or something like that, where I'm after they've already given a card or 2, because Bravo can block pretty good on the significant attacks. I'm able to, be able to push damage late in the chain. So here he just keeps swinging, right? So this is where I started. This is actually where I think I initially saw the Titan's Fist. I don't think it was a Terra Sunder. I think it was here. And I was like, oh, he's just going to keep blocking and swinging for 4, blocking and swinging for 4. So here, I know I have to block with a card. I can't go down 11 life, right? I'm actually losing value every single turn right now. So I need to do something in order to just keep chipping away at damage. Eventually, most Bravos, even really disciplined ones, they're going to slowly run out of equipment, and then they're going to get a little greedy on a crush effect, and that's when you can push damage and hopefully try to punish them. So he doesn't have Buckler anymore, which is he was kind of relying on the first 2 turns really, really heavily, which is totally fine. So now he's got to rely on, actually using equipment or using a lot of stuff from hand. So he ends up taking the Gadachi. I always lead with the Gadachi in this matchup because usually they always take 1 and just a little bit of chip damage. It matters. After over 15 turns, if they take 1 Gadachi, that's 15 points of damage, right? That's a lot, which a lot of the times, for me at least, this kind of goes late. So what I'm trying to do here is I don't have a great card in hand. I forgot what my other card's a yellow Descendant Gust Wave, and I think I have a Bonds of Ancestry. So normally, in this one, what I would want to do with Be Like Water is present it early in the chain because I'm trying to force out blocks early. But because I already have the natural combo line, what I want to do here, because typically when you see a Katsu do this, Kadachi, Be Like Water, the opponent's mind immediately goes to, okay, they have Ancestral, they have Razor. That's why they're doing this, right? Otherwise, they'd lead with it. And normally I would lead with it if I had something like that. But here, or if I didn't have the natural combo line, I would lead with it because I want them to give me cards early. But for this, when I play it on the 3rd chain, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get him to overblock here. So because I'm presenting it in this way, I'm trying to make him think, okay, he has a Razor, or okay, he has a Razor in Arsenal, and then he's gonna, But the thing is, even if I have a Razor, I have to pay the 1 for the Razor and then pay 1 to make it surging. It's not really going to work, right? So most of the time, a good player will know, okay, they may have Ancestral. But in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make him just kind of overblock here. I could have Razor and then draw for Mask, obviously, so there's that possibility. But I'm trying to make him overblock here and then go Descendant Bonds Fluster, right? So trying to make him give me 2 cards or give me a card, because if he's going to block 6, he's going to give me 2 cards. He's not going to give me equipment here. So you see he's checking my grave, see how many Ancestrals I've used, see how many Razors I've used. So because if I have a Razor here, he knows he has to block 6. Excuse me. So he blocked 6, which is good. This is exactly what we wanted. This is why we played Be Like Water on Chain Link 3. So when it comes to Be Like Water, in my opinion, especially with Bravo, there's 2 ways you can do it. If you don't have a natural combo line in your hand, play it early in the chain and make them give up something. If you already have a natural combo line in your hand where you can punish them even if they block Be Like Water, play it on a chain that is most impactful where you can get them to overblock like he just did, and then you can present damage. So I just got him to get rid of 2 cards from hand, and now I'm about to present 2, 6, 10 more damage, right? After making him give up 2 cards from hand. So this is where I'm able to climb back a little bit in the life total because I was able to play the mind games of, hey, I might have Razor, I might have Ancestral here, and then you punish him later in the chain. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot of nuances to Be Like Water. I guess, like I said, the easiest way to think about it is if you don't have a natural combo line in your hand, I would play Be Like Water early in the chain because maybe they won't respect it well enough, and then you get it off. But if you do have some type of natural combo line in your hand anyway, play your Kadachis first and try to threaten a Mass Trigger and make them overblock, and then play out your natural combo line and punish them for overblocking late in the chain, which is what we're always trying to do against Bravo. So he takes that. So he just took 2, which isn't that much, but he did take 2 on the Kadachi. So he's taken 4 damage here while giving up 2 cards from hand. That's pretty good for us. We're feeling good about that. And because this isn't presenting Mass Trigger, unless he has a D-React, there's no reason for him to block this. It's very inefficient for him to block this. What he could do here, it depends what I go get. So I go get 100 wins here because for one reason. He has 2 options here as a Bravo. And I know we're getting really intricate here, but y'all wanted this, so we're going to do it. He has 2, in my opinion, he has 2 things here as a Bravo. If he doesn't want to use his equipment, he can 1 card block this and 1 card block this and prevent Mask. But then I'm threatening Breaking Scales, which I'm not going to use, but he doesn't know that. Or he can just take this and then make sure he can swing with his hammer after blocking the one card here. So I go get 100 wins instead of Fluster Fist, not because I'm trying to thread a go again mask, but because I know the way Cody's playing, he wants to swing this hammer for 4. So because of that, I'm getting the go again to at least like give him the illusion of like, hey, I can play if you let me have mask. So I'm going to play this 4 power go again. He's going to take it because he wants to hold one card for his Titan's Fist. And then he's going to block the 100 wins. Like, I know he's going to block the 100 wins the second I go search for it. So he takes the 4 here, goes down to 27, and then he's going to 1 card block this. And he ends up having a Sigil in hand anyway, which I didn't know at the time. Blocking that, preventing mask, and then playing Sigil going back up to 30. So, you know, in that instance, right before we go to the next turn, Cody started at what, 35 life? Yep, 35 life that turn, and we were able for him to expend his entire hand technically and still be at 30 life. So he still got dealt 5 damage while giving up his entire hand. Not too bad. Again, we're just going to Kadachi for 1 here, keep chipping away, get that life parity even. I forget what's in my hand here. I pitched to Winds of Eternity. Hopefully this is making sense. I'm trying to do this on the fly, y'all, as much as I can. But be like water late. Again, if you have the combo, play it late because you're going to force over blocks. If you don't have the combo, I would play it early personally. You might want to mix it up so you don't telegraph yourself, but regardless. So again, this gives him the same issue as Be Like Water because he knows that if I have Ancestral in hand or something like of the nature, he's going to have to, overblock here. Once he plays this, I know he has a D-React in his hand or in his arsenal because he would block. If he wanted to try to prevent Ancestral and he didn't have a D-React, he would just probably chop block it with Crater Fist. But because he didn't do that, I know he has a D-React in his hand, which doesn't affect my turn, to be honest. I didn't have anything crazy, but I know once he blocks this way that he likely has a D-React in hand. Otherwise, he would use a little bit of his equipment to, at least stop the Ancestral play. So now in my brain, I'm like, okay, he has a D-React in hand. My issue is he also had CNC Pummel on this play. So, which does not feel good. Or he just had CNC in general. Do you have Pummel here? Yeah, he does. He has Pummel here. He pitches his sink below. Also could tell by Cody's body language a little bit that he knew and I knew he had Pummel. But, the thing about this play is, there's nothing you can do about it, right? And the Bravos know it. So, there's no point in, going crazy. But in this play, I had a D-React in hand and a D-React in arsenal. So I literally know my arsenal's going to get blown up and I'm going to discard a card. But I don't want to just take 10 to the face and it's 16 to 26. So because of that, I block with 2 cards here. I know I'm going to discard a card, right? But the worst thing that's going to happen to me, I have a couple options here. I can not block. I lose my arsenal and I lose a card from hand. I get dealt 10 damage. And I don't really have a turn, and he still has all his equipment up. I can 1 card block, still take, 7 damage, and still discard my arsenal in a card, which still doesn't make sense. So I'm going to block 6 here to prevent the Command and Conquer and make him have the Pummel. And worst case scenario, he has the Pummel. I get dealt 4 damage, and I still have 1 card in hand, right? That's the way I look at it. So it's a lose-lose situation, but conserving life is what matters, right? You know you're going to take damage. Don't get greedy. Don't try to hold a hand to deal 7 damage. Just block. Here, I could have arsenaled the Soul Bead Strike, but Soul Bead Strike isn't the best arsenal target because it doesn't have natural go again. It's not a key piece I want to use. So I'm just going to do this and say, hey, either give me one of your cards from hand and I'll deal 1 damage to you and slowly chip you away, or give me your equipment. And maybe every once in a while, even the best players in the world get a little greedy and they might just give you some of their equipment. And that's what I'm trying to do with these little plays right here. I'm just begging him hey, just throw 1 piece of equipment in front of it. So he ends up taking it down to 22, which is a bad sign for me. And I think this is a Starstruck play. Yeah, this is a Starstruck play. I think. I could be wrong. Oh, no, it's not. This is Chokeslam. Starstruck's coming up. So Chokeslam says if it crushes, if it deals 4 or more, I can't gain attack power on my attacks next turn. And I have a Dishonor, a Warmonger's Diplomacy, I believe a Surging Strike. Trying to remember. Or Be Like Water. I have a Be Like Water here. My main decision point here is that I just don't want to take a lot of damage, right? Like it's the on hit effect doesn't feel good, but it's not something I care about so much. It's the fact that like you don't want to take a lot of damage. We're at even life total right now. The worst thing I can do is get greedy and take 8 to the face to then deal, like, again, as long as his armor is up right here, I can't be greedy. I really can't. I can't just not block and, not do anything and try to hold cards in hand to hopefully deal damage when he has 11 block over here, right? Obviously, you can't use all 11 in the same turn, likely, unless I break the chain. But regardless, right there, I saved 3 damage, right? I only go down 5. I can't pump my attacks anyway, so really it's like, okay, let's save a little bit here. We have a Be Like Water. I have a Descendant and a Dishonor, I believe. So we play the Be Like Water early. Again, I don't have the natural combo line, as you can see. I have a Dishonor and I have a Descendant, but it has to hit in order to do that. He knows I can't pump this, so he's just going to 1-card block it to prevent me from getting the trigger, and I know that. So because of that, I'm just going to throw it out there, force a card out of his hand, deal 2 damage, and then play Descendant, threatening Mask. And if he doesn't block this, again, I'm going to be... So what I did here is because I didn't have the natural combo line, I played Be Like Water early to get a card out of his hand because he could use 2 pieces of equipment, but he's probably going to use a card from hand because he knows I can't pump it because of Choke Slam. And then I'm going to threaten Mask again. So I'm threatening 2 iterations of blocks off of a 8 damage hand. And I ended up dealing, 2 in between and finally forcing out his equipment because he doesn't want to block with another card here. And because of that, we're able to leak a little bit and force a little bit of interaction, which is really good. Be Like Water doesn't always work that way, but that's the way I play it as far as early in the chain, late in the chain. So this is the play. This is the Dominated Starstruck. I think about this play. I'm a fast forward it because I think about this play for like literally 2 minutes. I have 2 options here. The life total is at 17 to 20. I have used, 3 Surging Strikes, so I still have a good amount of threat density in the deck. Not doing too bad, but there's a couple things here. He has not seen his cripplings yet. I have not seen a crippling, right? There's still 2 Spinals in the deck, and there's still 2 Starstrucks in the deck, not to mention Choke Slam and all that other stuff. So he still has a lot of threat density. I cannot afford to be time walked here. If I am time walked by Starstruck, if it has a crush effect, I can't attack next turn. And Mask Momentum has been doing a good job at helping me, but his equipment is slowly starting to leak now. Not a lot, but a little bit. So my thought process here is either I just block a little bit of Starstruck, like 3, take 7, which doesn't feel good, down to 10, and it's 10 to 20, which now I'm starting to get into the danger total of just getting dominated out of the game. Or I block with Mask Momentum. I lose my ability to force interaction with Mask Draw, but I have a lot of threat density as well. I think I've only used 1 Bonds up until this point, and I've only used 2 or 3 Surgings, so I know I have a lot of threat density in the deck as well. So even though Mask Momentum is not available, I'm going to have turns where I get, unconditional tutors anyway. So because of that, I end up blocking with Mask Momentum here. I take the chance, even though the Bravo is at 20 life, in order to not be time walked. And my crackback turn isn't even that good. I just have to throw something back at him, right? I need to make him use something. So I end up blocking for 7 here with Flick Flack, a Mask Momentum, and my boots. And I didn't throw my boots in the graveyard like a dum-dum. But I only got dealt 3 damage there, down to 14, I believe, right? Yeah, I don't think the life total is updated quite yet. Yeah, 14. And so instead of it being 10 to 20 and me having to just pass back to him, it's now 14 to 20, and I'm able to push a little bit of damage here. And the damage is pretty good, right? It's nothing crazy, but it's 6 damage, and because his equipment is lower, it's going to, and I could potentially have an Ancestral, it's going to force a little bit more interaction. So he ends up blocking for 5 here, basically forcing me to have the Ancestral in hand, and I don't end up doing anything. So again, I only dealt 6 damage back, but I mean, if we look at the difference here, he had a Command and Conquer in hand. So, I'm not sure exactly what he has in hand here after he draws up. Let's see if we can see it when he draws up. So if I would have gotten time walk there, right? I block with 3 and then I pass back to him. Let's see if we can tell what he would have had. Command and Conquer, Unmovable, Tear Asunder, and what else is it? Like something else. So he would have been able to crack back at me pretty freaking hard, right? I don't know exactly what he would have done. Maybe he CNCs me for 6. Maybe he Tear Asunders me with his hammer, whatever the case may be. But here I at least force a little bit of interaction. I'm able to, do what I can. And now the life total is at 5 instead of 10. So it's a risk. Some people might not have done it, and it was a chance in the moment, like that could easily come back and bite me. I literally said on stream, like, hey, that might come back and bite me later, but I had to make that chance. So yeah, he had Boulder Drop and Unmovable. Yeah, so he would have been able to freaking potentially, dominate. I forgot what is Boulder Drop really fast. Boulder Drop Flesh and Blood. Boulder Drop Blue costs 3 to play. Yeah, so he would have been able to, potentially dominate something else or play, even play like a really good turn. But regardless, he would have time walked me and I would have been stuck in having to block all the time. So here he Tear Asunders me for 5 because it's Titan's Fist. It's not 7, so it's a little bit less scary. However, I do not have any way of blocking this out. I don't have. I do have a D-React in Arsenal. So here it's just thinking about my next turn and what cards do I want to keep in hand in order to have the most efficiency cracking back. So I believe here I have a Surging Strike. I know I have a Surging Strike in hand. Let's see what else we got. I always have my hand in my head. I need to do better not doing that next time. So we have a Surging Strike, an Ancestral, a Bonds of Ancestry, and something else. So this is why I like Heart and Cross Trap in the matchup. Tunic is very nice, but what Heart and Cross Trap allows you to do is it allows you to play out hands that you would never have the ability to play out, right? Like this hand is a 0 cost, a Bonds of Ancestry, and a Surging Strike. With Tunic, I can't play out that full hand. But with the Heart and Cross Trap, I'm able to threaten a full Bonds line, right? And again, what I'm hoping here is that he checks for Ancestral. I hope here that he just bets that I don't have Ancestral. And because the equipment is starting to go down, he does bet I don't have Ancestral. I end up Ancestraling this. Yep. You can see him shake his head. This is what happens. So this is one thing I want to point out to you all, and hopefully this helps you realize, like, try not to listen to everybody in a Flesh and Blood Discord chat or in a stream chat. Like, the best players in the world, like, is this a mistake? Is Cody blocking 5 here instead of 6 to block out Ancestral a mistake? Potentially, you could say it is. However, sometimes it's a calculated risk. Even the best players in the world, Cody, who has placed top 8 in callings, who has done well in multiple events, like he is an established, accomplished player, is going to take calculated risks sometimes. And like Cody doesn't want to block with his R3 block because, like, what is in his hand here? If we can see it, he has if we can see this, we'll see on the next play. But he blocks 5 here, probably because he doesn't want to block with another 3 block because he wants to use that on his next turn for whatever the attack is. So he makes the calculated risk of, I'm just going to make sure you don't have Ancestral here, right? So he blocks 5. I end up having Ancestral. He ends up having to take it. I don't think I draw it into a 0 cost, which felt bad because I had a Bonds. Or I did draw into it. Okay. So Ascendant Gustwave for 5. Cody ends up not blocking that. There's no reason to. There's no on-hit effect, but I did give him 5, and now it's 13. So you can see, like, he could have used his equipment here to double that. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, what Cody probably should have done is block for 5 and then maybe block with his Tectonic Plating in order to guarantee I can't, hit with the Ancestral. But he's really trying to hold this equipment for the late game. Honestly, looking at this now, maybe that's probably what he should have done, right? Maybe looking at it now. But in the moment, like, you're taking a risk. But this is why I like Heart and Cross Trap. As you can see, with Tunic, this play was not possible. I had a hand that was Surging Strike, Ancestral Empowerment, Red Bonds of Ancestry. Quite literally a bricked hand. There is nothing I can do. The best play I have in that situation is pitching Bonds and Ancestral for Surging if I don't have Heart and Cross Trap. If I have Tunic up, maybe I pitch just Bonds and the Tunic to play Surging and keep Ancestral in hand, and hopefully I hit, right? But regardless, it took a potential bricked 5 damage hand into a 5, 10, 14, 18 damage hand. Now, this hand was expanded upon because of Cody's blocking. However, it's a calculated risk he took. So he has to block here because of Dishonor. Otherwise, I turn off Bravo, and he ends up blocking this. So, yep. As you can see, what he wanted to do is swing Hammer for 4 and Arsenal is Pummel. That's why he didn't block with his other 3 block, right? And he doesn't want to have to, do other stuff. So there's plays you could have thought about there, but overall, Cody made the best play he thought was possible, and I kind of took tempo on that one. So I'm up 14-9. I'm feeling really good. Cody's now checking for my attack reactions. I believe I've used 2 at this point. Maybe all 3 Ancestrals. But yeah, that him kind of cheating that block really did, I think, swing the game. If he would have blocked for 6 on that Surging, who knows where this game would have gone. But I think that really gave me a lot of tempo because I was able to deal so much damage after that. So here, again, Kadachi Surging. I pulled my Surgings very, very timely. I was able to force out blocks. And at this point, Cody is now starting to get low on equipment blocks. He blocks for 4 here. I think he knows I don't have any Ancestrals. He doesn't want to give up Crater Fist quite yet. He knows the Quicken's kind of like whatever. I am doing Whelming for 4. And people always say, like, don't block Surging, always block Whelming. But because of the Bonds addition in Katsu, that line of thought's a lot like less easy to think about. So he ends up blocking out the Whelming completely. I'm able to get him to basically use his whole hand except for 1 card. He doesn't have an Arsenal. I think I end up taking this. Do I end up taking this? Yeah, I end up taking this down to 10. So I have a 5-card hand. And here, now, my name of the game is, I know he has sigils in his deck, and it's going to suck when he hits them, but right now I'm just trying to chip away. I'm trying to get him down to like 3 to 4 life where he starts to have to throw a lot of his life at me or a lot of his cards at me in order to not die. So here's where I made the mistake. Here is one of the biggest mistakes of the game, and I think I could have won the game like 2 turns quicker if I wouldn't have done this. So I have a Razor in hand. I forget what my other card is. Can I see it here maybe? It's a Razor and something else. I forgot what it is exactly. Oh, I wish I could see that. It looks like a Dishonor. Whatever it may be. What I should have done here is done E-Strike for 5 go again. I did E-Strike for 7 with a Razor, basically to force a potential 10 damage play when he's at 6. The problem is this is the most telegraphed play in the world. What I should have done, I should have done E-Strike for 5. If I do E-Strike for 5 go again, yes, he has to account for Razor, but a Razor has not came up yet in this entire game. Hasn't been pitched, hasn't been blocked with, hasn't been attacked with. Now, most people would expect Katsu to have a Razor, but you don't know that, right? So what I should have done is E-Strike for 5 go again. Maybe he chop blocks it with a 3 power because he's not worried about a combo trigger. And then I Razor it. I'm right now, if he blocks for 3 here, it's dealing 2 for him down to 4. And then I Razor it, going down to 1. And if he doesn't have a D-React, then now he's at 1 life and it's in a really bad spot. So yeah, this is just this isn't really like a tip, right? It's just an obvious misplay on my part. Should have done E-Strike for 5 go again, giving the illusion that I have 1 or 2 more attacks in hand. Maybe he blocks for 3 just to try to, prevent a little bit of damage but keep cards in hand. Or maybe even blocks for 3 and Crown for 5, and then I Razor it and put him down to 3 anyway, right? Which is what he does here. So what he probably would have done if I would have done 5 go again is he would have done just this. And then I would have Razored it and put him to 3. Right? That's what I should have done. But we end up not doing that. So because of that, he overblocks. However, this does give me some benefit. My misplay helps me a little bit. He just throws all his equipment, right? I'm able to finally get all of his equipment out and really, just kind of solidify the fact that he's going to have to start blocking from hand here. He knows I have the razor. I know I have the razor, but it's in my arsenal, and now he has to account for it for the rest of the game, which is really going to change how he plays. So he had an unmovable, so he would have been able to block the razor, I believe. No, he wouldn't have, because he had a fate and a sigil. So he would have been able to block the razor regardless, because he had a fate. And I don't know that, but regardless of what's in his hand, I think I made the wrong play there. So I end up blocking with a whelming here because I don't want it to be 6-6. I want to try to keep life parity or life advantage as much as possible. Again, there's no point in me holding one extra card in hand at this point with no mask. I'm just trying to use Kadachi's very effectively since he has no more equipment blocks and be able to whittle him down, and then present damage late in the chain in order to force out cards from hand, because now he's going to have to completely start blocking with cards from hand in order to, do something. So again, he knows I have Razor here, and he has to start playing around it literally every single turn. He ends up blocking for 3 here, and I end up scalesing it. So I have the Razor in hand here, and I'm like, okay, I've only seen 2 Sinks, 2 Fates, or something like that. Not a lot. I know he still has D-Reacts in his deck. I'm going to scales this, because if he doesn't have a D-React, then I'm going to go get another 100 wins, right, and potentially hit him for 4, which is really good for me, or Winds of Eternity. If he does have a D-React, then I'm able to bait out a D-React with a +1 attack reaction. If you notice, several times in this game, I'm able to bait out a D-React with a +1 attack reaction. Now, is that the right play that Cody should make? Who knows, right? I think it's not a bad play. It may not be the most efficient play in the world, but he doesn't want me to get Katsu triggers, because that just means my hands become more efficient. And in the late game, when I only have probably 20 cards left in deck, 25 cards left in deck, me being able to hand fix is really important. So if he can prevent that, I now probably have suboptimal hands for the most part, all right? So he ends up fading it to preventing the breaking skills, and I just keep Razor in my arsenal. So I just now got rid of another D-React, and I'm able to continue going. So he ends up spinaling me here. Luckily, I had a very timely reinforce the line, which allowed me to block 7. And we're both at life equal. I ended up blocking with the Bonds of Ancestry, which doesn't feel good. I think it was my only 3 block in my hand. That's why I had to do that, so I would block 7 of it. I have a Flick Flack in my hand, I believe. Yeah, I had a Flick Flack and a Surging Strike and a Bonds of Ancestry, right? I believe. Let's go back to that one more time. Yeah, so for this, I believe I have a Bonds of Ancestry in my hand, a Reinforce the Line, a Flick Flack, and a Surging Strike. So I can block with my Surging Strike, which I don't want to do because that's a really powerful card, and then Reinforce the Line for 6. I can Flick Flack for 4, which turns off Go Again, which still doesn't do a whole lot. And then I have a Reinforced Line Surging Strike stuck in my hand, which feels really bad, right? So what I tried, the best possible play is block with Bonds. It's not the ideal play, but it's the best possible play. My goal here is to pitch Surging and Kadachi for 1. He knows a Razor is in my arsenal, but if he doesn't respect it, then I'm going to deal 4 damage to him and put him at 3, which is not where Bravo wants to be. Again, Cody could have done some different things with his D-Reacts, but when I have a Razor in my arsenal for 3 turns straight, it affects how you play the game. So he takes it here, lets me Razor, which he's okay with, he lives with. He now has a 4-card hand, but I have now a D-React in my arsenal, which is really, really key for me. All I have to hope is that he doesn't have a Command and Conquer. If he has anything else, I'm good. Right? Anything else, I'm good. It was just a very timely D-React for me. So I'm able to sink into Flick Flack. Actually, I blocked with a lot of cards here. Because I wanted it. So it's 7-3, and I know at this point I can start to try to Kadachi lock him. He has no equipment in hand, or no equipment to be able to block with, just his hand. So I end up blocking 3. I think I block it all out. Or I block for 10 here. I block 6 with regular cards and then my D-React, keeping 2 cards in hand. And what I'm going to do here is just Kadachi, 2 power. He's going to take one of the Kadachis. I know he is. So I'm going to force 2 cards from hand with this play. And again, it just gets down to whittling them down over and over at this point. I just got to hope that he doesn't run into like a command and conquer. That's really what I'm trying to prevent here. So he sinks this, which is very interesting. I don't remember. I don't know exactly what's in his hand. It's a sink, a tear asunder. Let's see what else he's got in hand. Sink, tear asunder, fate foreseen, and another blue. Okay, so what he's trying to do, I think the reason he's sunk is because he knows he's not going to need the D-React. So, yeah, that's what he was trying to do. He had 2 D-Reacts in hand, and he doesn't need both of them because what he's trying to do, he's trying to find 3 blues in order for another attack. But I end up attacking with a Winds of Eternity here, which then forces another card out of his hand anyway. So he wasn't able to, like, actually get a good attack off. But he's trying to filter. I saw a couple people in the chat say, why did he sink against a Kodachi? Well, the reason he sunk against a Kodachi is because he was trying to filter blues to then attack with, like, I think an actual attack. He was trying to filter probably for Spinal, is my guess. So I end up blocking here, go to 5. So here, I think this is the turn I win, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is the turn I win. So this is where unmovables kind of hurt Cody. It's not a bad play on him. It just sucks. Unmovables are kind of inefficient against Katsu, to be completely honest, because it takes 2 cards from your hand, potentially. If unmovable's not in Arsenal, it's very inefficient because it takes 2 cards from hand to block out an attack, and when I'm going really wide to finish the game, it's really bad. So he's going to take this first Kodachi, and I know that I can't Razor the first Kodachi because if I Razor the first Kodachi and he happens to have a D-React, I'm screwed. Because at that point, all he's got to do is take the Kodachi and then block with 2 cards, and then he can start to swing hammer for 4, and then we become in this weird game. So what I do is I take it here and make him go down to 1, and then Razor here to potentially force out a D-React. Right, because my thought is if I Razor here, right, and he has a D-React, let's just say he had a Fade or a Sink, then he still has 3 cards in hand. He can take 1 from the Kodachi, block the 4-power Soul Bead with 2 cards, and then swing hammer for 4, right, potentially. Now, if he takes the one here and then he has to D-React here, he still has 3 cards in hand. He still has to give up 2. It just prevents more of a break point. But because he had the unmovable, it made his hand inefficient, and I was able to push through on a breakpoint attack. So hopefully that made sense. That was a lot of random stuff. A couple of tidbits you could take away from this, I guess, is 1, try to bait out their equipment as much as possible. It's okay throwing damage. As you can see, even one of the best Bravo players around had some plays where he didn't play incorrectly, but he just tried to cheat blocks a little bit. Even the best players in the world will try to cheat blocks against a Katsu, and so they can hold cards in hand in order to be effective on their turn. And because of that, you're able to punish it, right? Try to force their equipment out early, so you can then force them to block from hand, which makes you a lot more powerful. The second your opponent loses their armor, it makes Katsu even more powerful. So that's a key thing. And don't be afraid to be defensive. Like I said, I took a big risk by blocking with Mask. Some people might even though I won, some people might say it was the wrong play. But for me, I want to continue to have constant pressure, and sometimes you have to take that calculated risk with that stuff. So hopefully this was enjoyable. Hopefully this was informative. I tried to pick out stuff when I could. One of the key things I think with Bravo, fundamental-wise, is pushing damage late in the chain after they've efficiently blocked out one of your attacks or your mass trigger. Then you push damage late to punish that and force them to keep giving you cards or keep giving you equipment. And then eventually you'll start to push through. But yeah, there was a couple key plays in the game, I think, where I pushed damage and forced one more card out of his hand, which turned what normally would have been a 6 to 7 power Guardian attack into a Titan's Fist for 4, which completely changes the whole game. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If there's something that didn't make sense that I was explaining and you want more clarification on it, please let me know in the comments below. I'll try to be more clear. Watching these back is always interesting to me because it's hard to pinpoint exactly where. I wish I had that steel trap mind to give you. But I'll continue to try to do gameplay reviews like this when I can, like for Talishar games and stuff moving forward. So thank you all so much. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to our Flesh and Blood creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.